Number 10. Michael Richards' racist outburst, 2006. Alright, let's start this dark journey with a career-ending meltdown. It's 2006 and Michael Richards, better known as Kramer from Seinfeld, is on stage at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood. The crowd's buzzing, expecting laughs. But when a couple of hecklers start giving him trouble, Richards snaps, and I mean snaps. Instead of a witty comeback, he unleashes a racist tirade filled with slurs and lynching references. The audience is frozen, some even start recording. Within hours, the footage is everywhere, and the backlash hits like a tidal wave. Apologies follow, but it's too late. His career, done. One unforgivable outburst and the comedy world shuts him out. It's a brutal reminder that sometimes one mistake is all it takes to destroy everything you've built. Number 9. Bill Hicks' censored Letterman appearance, 1993. Comedy has always been about pushing boundaries, but sometimes those boundaries push back hard. In 1993, the legendary Bill Hicks was set to perform on The Late Show with David Letterman. Now, Hicks was known for his fearless, no-holds-barred comedy, sharp, controversial, and unapologetically honest. But this time, his routine didn't just ruffle feathers, it got plucked clean off the bird. After delivering his set, packed with his signature dark humor and biting social commentary, Hicks left the studio thinking it went well. Then came the bombshell. The entire performance was cut from the broadcast, gone, like it never even happened. The reason? CBS deemed it too controversial for TV. Hicks was furious. To him, it wasn't just about being censored, it was about being silenced. The incident sparked debates over freedom of speech and censorship in comedy, leaving Hicks feeling betrayed and audiences outraged. Tragically, he never got to see the set aired as he passed away the following year. It wasn't until 2009, 16 years later, that Letterman publicly apologized and aired the lost footage. But by then, it was too late to make amends with Hicks himself. A brutal reminder that sometimes the fight for free expression can come at a steep, unforgiving price. Number 8. Sam Kinison's untimely death, 1992. If there was ever a comedian who lived life at full volume, it was Sam Kinison. Known for his wild, screaming delivery and raw, unapologetic humor, Kinison was a rock star of stand-up comedy. Loud, chaotic, and undeniably brilliant. But his life off stage was just as intense, and tragically, it all came to a sudden, violent end in 1992. Kinison was on his way to a gig in California when a pickup truck driven by a drunk teenager swerved into his lane and hit him head-on. The impact was devastating. As Kinison lay on the side of the road, barely conscious, witnesses reported hearing him speak almost like he was arguing with an unseen force, before finally whispering, "Okay, okay," and passing away. The comedy world was rocked. A talent like Kinison, so fierce and fearless, gone in an instant. The teenager who caused the crash survived, facing the weight of knowing he'd ended a legend's life. Kinison's death was a brutal reminder that even the loudest, most unstoppable voices can be silenced in the blink of an eye. Number 7. Lenny Bruce's obscenity arrests, 1960s. Lenny Bruce wasn't just a comedian, he was a revolutionary, a trailblazer who tore down walls of censorship with raw, unfiltered truth. But that fearless approach came with a heavy price. In the 1960s, Bruce found himself in constant battle, not just with critics, but with the law itself. His crime, obscenity. Night after night, Bruce took to the stage with material that challenged social norms, talking about politics, religion, with brutal honesty, and the authorities, they weren't having it. He was arrested multiple times for using obscene language during his sets, dragged through endless legal battles that drained his finances and spirit. The stress took a toll, his health deteriorated, his career crumbled, and he became a shell of the fearless provocateur he once was. In 1966, Bruce was found dead of a drug overdose, alone, broke, and defeated. Years later, he would be hailed as a comedy pioneer, but in his lifetime, he was treated like a criminal for daring to speak his mind. It's a tragic irony. The man who fought for free speech paid for it with his own life. Number 6. Richard Pryor's freebasing accident, 1980. Richard Pryor, one of the greatest stand-up comedians of all time, was known for his raw honesty and fearless storytelling. But behind the jokes and the genius was a man battling demons that almost cost him his life. In 1980, those demons took center stage in one of the darkest and most harrowing moments of his career. Pryor was freebasing cocaine, an addiction that had already consumed much of his life. In a tragic, chaotic accident, he set himself on fire while trying to ignite a mixture of cocaine and ether. Engulfed in flames, he ran down the street, burning from head to toe. Neighbors and passersby could hardly believe what they were seeing. He survived, barely, after suffering third-degree burns over more than half his body. Pryor didn't shy away from talking about it later, even incorporating it into his act with brutal honesty and dark humor. But the scars, both physical and emotional, never faded. That moment became one of the most infamous chapters of his life, a haunting reminder of how addiction can consume even the brightest stars. Pryor's comeback was nothing short of miraculous, but the image of him ablaze remains etched into comedy history, a painful testament to the cost of fame and the relentless grip of addiction. Number 5, Mitch Hedberg's overdose, 2005. Mitch Hedberg was a one-of-a-kind comedian. His quirky, deadpan delivery and offbeat one-liners made him a cult favorite. He had this effortless way of making the absurd seem downright genius. But behind that laid-back persona was a man struggling with a relentless battle against addiction. In 2005, tragedy struck when Hedberg was found dead in a hotel room from a drug overdose, heroin and cocaine. He was only 37. Fans were devastated, and the comedy world lost one of its most unique voices far too soon. It wasn't exactly a shock. Mitch had been open about his substance abuse and his routines. Still, no one expected his story to end that abruptly. What makes it so heartbreaking is that Hedberg was just hitting his stride. His comedy was finally getting the recognition it deserved, but his personal demons wouldn't let go. To this day, his jokes live on, witty, weird, and timeless. But his death serves as a sobering reminder that even the funniest minds can be haunted by darkness. Number 4, Greg Giraldo's overdose, 2010. Greg Giraldo was a master of the roast, a sharp, fearless comedian who could verbally dismantle anyone with style and wit. He wasn't just about brutal takedowns, though. His stand-up was intelligent, raw, and relentlessly honest. But behind that razor-sharp humor was a man battling his own struggles. In 2010, tragedy struck when Giraldo was found unresponsive in his hotel room after an accidental overdose on prescription medication. He was rushed to the hospital but never regained consciousness, passing away just days later at the age of 44. The comedy world was stunned. Giraldo was known for his no-holds-barred approach to life and comedy, but his passing revealed a side that most never saw, a man quietly fighting his own battles while making the world laugh. It's a cruel irony. Someone so skilled at roasting others ultimately fell victim to his own demons. His loss left a void that still lingers, reminding us that even those who seem the strongest can be struggling beneath the surface. Number 3, Patrice O'Neal's stroke, 2011. Patrice O'Neal was a comedic force of nature, fearlessly honest, brutally funny, and unapologetically real. His ability to cut through the nonsense and speak raw, uncomfortable truths made him one of the most respected voices in comedy. But just as his career was hitting new heights, tragedy struck. In 2011, Patrice suffered a massive stroke that left him hospitalized and fighting for his life. Fans and fellow comedians alike held their breath, hoping he'd pull through. Sadly, complications from the stroke proved too severe, and he passed away later that year at just 41 years old. The loss hit hard. Patrice was more than just a comedian. He was a truth teller, a giant on stage who made audiences think as much as they laughed. His presence was irreplaceable, and his death left a gaping hole in the comedy world. It's heartbreaking to think of how much more he could have accomplished, how many more fearless, thought-provoking sets he could have delivered. Patrice O'Neal's legacy lives on, but the comedy scene will never quite be the same without him. Number 2, Robin Williams' suicide, 2014. This one still hurts. Robin Williams wasn't just a comedian, he was pure magic, a whirlwind of energy, creativity, and heart that could make anyone laugh, no matter how bad their day was. From his manic stand-up routines to his unforgettable roles in movies, Williams was a master of comedy and storytelling. But behind that infectious smile and rapid-fire wit was a man struggling with unimaginable pain. In 2014, the world was shattered by the news that Robin Williams had taken his own life. The beloved comedian had been battling severe depression, exacerbated by a recent diagnosis of Lewy body dementia, a debilitating and progressive brain disorder. Fans were stunned. How could someone who brought so much joy to the world be dealing with so much darkness? The loss was a gut punch, a reminder that even those who seem to radiate happiness can be fighting battles we know nothing about. Robin Williams' death left a void that still hasn't healed. His genius, his kindness, and his boundless creativity are irreplaceable. It's a tragic irony that a man who dedicated his life to making others laugh couldn't escape his own sadness. And it's a painful reminder that mental health struggles don't discriminate, even against the brightest stars. Number 1. Joan Rivers' fatal surgery complications, 2014. Joan Rivers was the queen of comedy, sharp-tongued, fearless, and unapologetically bold. She built an empire on brutally honest jokes, never holding back no matter who was in the line of fire. After decades of dominating the comedy scene, Rivers seemed unstoppable. But in 2014, a routine medical procedure changed everything. Joan went in for a minor throat surgery at a clinic in New York, a simple procedure to examine her vocal cords. No one could have predicted the tragic turn of events. During the operation, Rivers stopped breathing and went into cardiac arrest. She was rushed to the hospital and placed on life support, but after several days in a coma, she passed away at 81. The comedy world was stunned. How could such a legendary force be silenced by something so routine? Investigations revealed numerous medical errors and negligence during the procedure, sparking outrage and legal battles. Joan Rivers wasn't just a comedian, she was a trailblazer who broke down barriers for women in comedy and never backed down from controversy. Losing her felt surreal, like comedy itself had lost one of its most fearless warriors. Even in death, she left behind a legacy that remains unmatched, but the way she went out, unexpected and unfair, made it all the more heartbreaking. Comedy may make us laugh, but behind the jokes are real people with real struggles. These darkest moments remind us that even the funniest minds can face unimaginable pain. Which story hit you the hardest? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of comedy and beyond. See you in the next one.